Hello students, welcome to the concept of 5-year plans. In this, let us try to understand the detailed concept of 5-year plans. 5-year plans were first introduced in the former Soviet Union in 1928 for controlled and rapid economic development. It was found successful. In 1950, India's Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, impressed by the Soviet system, adopted 5-year plans as a model for economic development and established the Planning Commission of India. This is in March 1950. Planning Commission of India is responsible for creation, development and execution of India's 5-year plans, which works under the overall guidance of the National Development Council, which was established in 1951. This comprises of Planning Commission and the Chief Ministers of all states. Draft plans were to be approved by the National Development Council. An approved plan is then passed by the Cabinet and then in Parliament. With effect from February 2015, Planning Commission is replaced by Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog, or the National Institution for Transforming India, is a Government of India policy think tank established to replace the Planning Commission. The stated aim for Niti Aayog's creation is to foster involvement and participation in the economic policy making process by the state governments of India. The Union Government of India announced the formation of Niti Aayog on 1st January 2015 and the first meeting was held on 8 February 2015. The Prime Minister serves as the ex officio chairperson. The Niti Aayog comprises of the Prime Minister of India as the chairperson, a governing council composed of chief ministers of all the states and union territories with legislatures and lieutenant governors of other union territories. Regional councils composed of chief ministers of states and lieutenant governors of union territories in the region to address specific issues and contingencies impacting more than one state or a region. Full-time organizational framework composed of a vice chairperson, a chief executive officer with the rank of secretary to the Government of India, 3 full-time members, 2 part-time members from leading universities, research organizations and other relevant institutions in an ex officio capacity, 4 ex officio members of the Union Council of Ministers and a secretariat. Experts and specialists in various fields. The Planning Commission was charged with the responsibility of making assessment of all resources of the country, augmenting deficient resources, formulating plans for the most effective and balanced utilization of resources and determining priorities. Jawaharlal Nehru was the first chairman of the Planning Commission. The first 5-year plan was launched in 1951 and 2 subsequent 5-year plans were formulated till 1965 when there was a break because of the Indo-Pakistan conflict. 2 successive years of drought, devaluation of the currency, a general rise in prices and erosion of resources disrupted the planning process, and after 3 annual plans between 1966 and 1969, the 4th 5-year plan was started in 1969. The 8th plan could not take off in 1990 due to the fast changing political situation at the center, and the years 1990 to 91 and 91 to 92 were treated as annual plans. The 8th plan was finally launched in 1992 after the initiation of structural adjustment policies. For the first 8 plans, the emphasis was on the growing public sector with massive investments in basic and heavy industries, But since the launch of the 9th plan in 1997, the emphasis on the public sector has become less pronounced, and the current thinking on planning in the country in general is that it should increasingly be of an indicative nature. To start with, the first 5-year plan, that is 1951 to 1956. The first 5-year plan was presented by Sri Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. It was formulated for the execution of various plans and activities between 1951 to 1956. The Planning Commission was responsible for working out the plan. Now, let us see the aim of the first 5-year plan. The primary aim of the first 5-year plan was to improve living standards of the people by making judicious use of natural resources. The total outlay of the first 5-year plan was worth 2069 crore rupees. This amount was assigned to different sectors, which included industrial sector, energy and irrigation, transport and communication, land rehabilitation, social services, development of agriculture and community, miscellaneous issues. Some important events that took place during the tenure of the first 5-year plan are: the irrigation projects that started during the period are Mettur Dam, Hirakud Dam, Bhakra Dam. The Indian government also made considerable effort in improving posts and telegraphs, railway services, road tracks, civil aviation. The second 5-year plan, that is during 1956 to 1961. Let us see the aim of the second 5-year plan. Industries got more importance in the second 5-year plan. The focus was mainly on heavy industries. The Indian government boosted manufacturing of industrial goods in the country. This was done primarily to develop the public sector. The second 5-year plan functioned on the basis of Mahalanobis model. The Mahalanobis model was propounded by the famous economist Prashanta Chandra Mahalanobis in the year 1953. His model addresses different issues pertaining to economic development. According to this model, it is assumed that the economy is closed and has two segments: segment of consumption goods and segment of capital goods. By following the Mahalanobis model, the then government wanted that there should be optimum assignment of the fund among the various productive segments. This was aimed with a view to achieve maximum returns on a long term basis. 5 steel plants, including the ones in Durgapur, Jamshedpur and Bhilai, were initiated. Hydroelectric power plants were formed. There was considerable increase in production of coal. The northeastern part of the country witnessed increase in the number of railway tracks. Atomic Energy Commission, which was established in the year 1957, came into being. Tata Institute of Fundamental Research was started to train manpower for programs related to nuclear power. Next, third 5-year plan, that is during 1961 to 1966. When the first 5-year plan was introduced, people were slightly apprehensive about the success of the plan. So, when it was discovered that the first and second 5-year plans were successful, people pinned their hopes on the next 5-year plan. Role of the states increased and they were given more prominence. The main events in this are: the third 5-year plan laid considerable stress on the agriculture sector. However, with the short-lived Sino-Indian War of 1962, India diverted its attention to the safety of the country. Again, during the period 1965 to 1966, owing to Green Revolution, once again agriculture attracted the attention. Due to the Sino-Indian War, India witnessed increase in price of products. The resulting inflation was cost push in nature. The aim of the third 5-year plan was, in addition to the above measures and proposals, the Planning Commission aimed at certain factors, that is, increasing the national income by 5% per annum, making India self-sufficient by increasing agricultural production. This step was taken to ensure that India does not have to bank on others for food products, minimizing rate of unemployment, ensuring that people enjoy equal rights in the country. The 3 annual plans, that is during 1966 to 1969. Failure of third plan due to the devaluation of rupee to boost exports along with inflationary recession led to postponement of fourth 5-year plan. 3 annual plans were introduced instead. Prevailing crisis in agriculture and serious food shortage necessitated the emphasis on agriculture during the annual plans. During these plans, a whole new agriculture strategy was implemented, that is, widespread distribution of high yielding varieties of seeds, extensive use of fertilizers, exploitation of irrigation potential and soil conservation. During the annual plans, the economy absorbed the shocks generated during the third plan. The next is the fourth 5-year plan, that is during 1969 to 1974. The fourth 5-year plan of India also served as a stepping stone for the economic growth. The main events of this are: India had to reform and restructure its expenditure agenda following the attack on India in the year 1962 and for the second time in 1965. The country had hardly recuperated when it was struck by drought. There was a spell of recession. Due to recession, famine and drought, India did not pay much heed to long-term goals. Instead, it responded to the need of the hour and started taking measures to overcome the crisis. Food grains production increased to bring about self-sufficiency in production. With this attempt, gradually a gap was created between the people of the rural areas and those of the urban areas. The need for foreign reserves was felt. This facilitated growth in exports. Import substitution drew considerable attention. All these activities widened the industrial platform. Following the fourth 5-year plan, an alteration in the socio-economic structure of the society was observed. India's development in every sector took place through the 5-year plans. The Planning Commission laid plans and monitored the execution. Next is the fifth 5-year plan, that is during 1974 to 1979. The fifth 5-year plan commenced on 1974 and extended till 1979. The objective of the fifth 5-year plan was to increase the level of employment, reduce poverty and to attain self-sufficiency in agriculture. Let us see the contents of the fifth 5-year plan. The fifth 5-year plan was designed in a way to meet the needs of the time. The issues that were emphasized were reducing the discrepancy between the economic development at the regional, national, international level. It emphasized on putting the economic growth at par with each other. Improving the agricultural condition by implementing land reform measures. Improving the scope of self-employment through a well integrated program, reducing the rate of unemployment both in the urban and the rural sectors, encouraging growth of the small scale industries, enhancing the import substitution in the spheres including chemicals, paper, mineral and equipment industries, applying policies pertaining to finance and credit in the industrial sector, stressed on the importance of a labor intensive production technology in India. Next, rolling plan, that is during 1978 to 1980. Janata government put forward a plan for 1978 to 1983 emphasizing on employment in contrast to Nehru model, which the government criticized for concentration on power, widening inequality or for mounting poverty. However, the government lasted for only 2 years. Congress government returned to power in 1980 and launched a different plan aimed at directly attacking on the problem of poverty by creating conditions of an expanding economy. Next is the 6th 5-year plan during 1980 to 1985. 6th 5-year plan is also referred to as the Janata government plan, and it was revolutionary since it marked a change from the Nehruvian model of 5-year plans. On one hand, it had improved the tourism industry in India, and on the other hand, it aimed at development in the information technology. Issues within the 6th 5-year plan are: industrial development was the emphasis of this plan. The transport and communication system also improved under this plan. The national highways were all built during this time. During this time, the Indian currency was devalued, and this led to a dramatic increase in the number of foreign travelers in India, thus helping India to become a tourist destination. Economic liberalization was introduced for the first time in India during this period. Ration shops were closed because government no more produced articles at a subsidized rate. Price control measures were no more useful. As a consequence, the prices of various goods increased, leading to growth in the standard of living of the residents of India. Family planning was implemented for the first time in India. However, this was readily accepted by the people residing in the developed areas of the country, but the mass of the less developed areas refused to accept the plan and never implemented it. Next, 7th 5-year plan during 1985 to 1989. The backdrop of the 7th 5-year plan. The 7th 5-year plan started off on a string ground since the foundation for economic development was laid by the 6th 5-year plan. The 6th 5-year plan had already paved the way for economic development by increasing the production in the agricultural and industrial sector, curbing the rate of inflation and maintaining a balance in the transaction of goods, services and money. Therefore, the 7th 5-year plan had a strong base on which it could build the superstructure of industrial development for the betterment of India's economic position. This plan strove to achieve socialism and expand the production of energy. Next, let us see the contents of the 7th 5-year plan. Introduction and application of modern technology, assuring the essentials of food, shelter and clothing to the people, striving to achieve independence as per the Indian economy is concerned, help the small as well as the large farmers to increase their productivity. The rate of employment was anticipated to rise by 4% every year, and the labor force was anticipated to grow by 39 million at the end of 5th year. Therefore, care was taken to establish a harmony in all the sectors that are contained in an economy. Special care was taken to spread education among girls, enhance telecommunication within the country. The Government of India also strove to maintain a balance in the economy, and by striking a balance within the export and import. Next, the 2-year plan during 1990 to 1992. 1989 to 91 was a period of economic instability in India, and hence no 5-year plan was implemented. Between 1990 and 92, there were only annual plans. In 1991, India faced a crisis in foreign exchange, that is forex reserves, left with reserves of only about $1 billion. Thus, under pressure, the country took the risk of reforming the socialist economy. It was the beginning of liberalization, privatization and globalization, that is LPG in India. Next is the 8th 5-year plan, that is during 1992 to 1997. During this period, India received a coveted opportunity to become a member of the World Trade Organization on January 1st, 1995. Modernization of industries was a major highlight of the 8th plan. Under this plan, the gradual opening of the Indian economy was undertaken to correct the burgeoning deficiency and foreign debt. Energy was given priority with 26.6% of the outlay. An average annual growth rate of 6.78% against the target 5.6% was achieved. To achieve the target of an average of 5.6% per annum, investment of 23.2% of the gross domestic product was required. The incremental capital ratio is 4:1. The saving for investment was to come from domestic sources and foreign sources, with the rate of domestic saving at 21.6% of gross domestic production and of foreign saving at 1.6% of gross domestic production. Next is the 9th 5-year plan, that is during 1997 to 2002. In the 9th 5-year plan period from 1997 to 2002, the recorded rate of growth was merely 5.35%. Taking into consideration the past weaknesses, the 9th 5-year plan formulated fresh actions to initiate overall economic and social sectors of the nation. To this effort, there was mutual contribution from the general population of India as well as the governmental agencies. This joint private and public attempt ultimately assured development of the Indian economy. Primary objectives of the 9th 5-year plan are industrialization at the rapid pace, reduction in poverty level, gaining self-sufficiency on local resources, complete employment for all countrymen. Price stabilization should be initiated to hasten up the rate of the growth of the Indian economy. Control the ever increasing rate of population, creating an independent market for enhancing private financial investments, promotion of social events like conservation of specific benefits for special social groups female empowerment, etc. Achieving self-sufficiency in food production, generation of equal opportunities for employment and taking steps to reduce poverty. Next is 10th 5-year plan, that is during 2002 to 2007. The 10th 5-year plan targets at a GDP growth rate of 8% per annum. Taking note of the inabilities of the earlier 5-year plans, especially that of the 9th 5-year plan, the 10th 5-year plan decides to take up a resolution for immediate implementation of all the policies formulated in the past. This amounts to making appeals to the higher government authorities for successful completion of their campaigns associated with the rapid implementation of all past policies. The 10th 5-year plan of India in a nutshell is to increase the mobility of all the available financial resources of India and optimizing them as well. Setting up of a state of the art infrastructure for all the existing industries in India. Encourage the initiative of capacity building within the Indian industrial sector, creating a friendly, amiable and pleasant investment environment in India, encouraging sufficient transparency in the corporate sectors of India, introduction of reforms in the industrial sectors which are more investor friendly in nature. Next is the 11th 5-year plan, that is during 2007 to 2012. 11th plan was aimed at towards faster and more inclusive growth. The objectives of this plan are rapid and inclusive growth for poverty reduction, emphasis on social sector and delivery of service therein, empowerment through education and skill development, reduction of gender inequality, environmental sustainability, increase the growth rate in agriculture, industry and services to 4%, 10% and 9% respectively, reduce total fertility rate to 2.1, provide clean drinking water for all by 2009, increase agriculture growth to 4%. Next is the 12th 5-year plan, that is during 2012 to 2017. The 12th plan commenced at a time when the global economy was going through a second financial crisis precipitated by the sovereign debt problems of the Eurozone, which erupted in the last year of the 11th plan. The crisis affected all countries including India. Our growth slowed down to 6.2% in 2011 to 2012 and continued into the first year of the 12th plan, when the economy is estimated to have grown by only 5%. The 12th 5-year plan therefore emphasizes that our first priority must be to bring the economy back to rapid growth while ensuring that the growth is both inclusive and sustainable. The broad vision and aspirations which the 12th plan seeks to fulfill are reflected in the subtitle, that is faster, sustainable and more inclusive growth. Inclusiveness is to be achieved through poverty reduction, promoting group equality and regional balance, reducing inequality, empowering people, etc. Whereas sustainability includes ensuring environmental sustainability, development of human capital through improved health, education, skill development, nutrition and information technology, etc. and development of institutional capabilities, infrastructure like power, telecommunication, roads, transport, etc. This is all about the concept of 5-year plans. Any questions?
Ma'am, I have a doubt. What is Niti Aayog? How is it different from Planning Commission?
Niti Aayog is the replacement of Planning Commission of India. Niti Aayog has made a way for the two-way relationship between the center and the state governments in related to economic policy and development. That is, it has given more involvement and participation for the state governments in economic policy and development. Any more questions? Well then, this is all about the concept of 5-year plans. Thank you.